First of all, it's great to be here again and to see those wonderful faces of dear friends all over the world and close by. And one thing I like about these sessions is actually the ability to see my friends, because these days I'm so busy I can't even breathe, but I get those sessions and I get to see everybody. So this is great stuff. The subject is dear to my heart. And I'm going to be a little bit vocal about it. When we talk about sustainable finance, we talk about green finance. To me, Islamic finance has always been sustainable finance and green finance. And when we started, or when Islamic finance started and they developed all the products, it actually had what the essence of a sustainable finance. If we talk about sustainable finance, we're talking about environmental, social, and governance criteria that govern the finance. And this is, of course, what is called ESG. So if we look at taking care of our environment, taking our social, how people interact in the business, the relationship with the suppliers, the relationship with the customers, how the partners work together. It is amazingly how it's governed in the Islamic finance. And then, of course, the governance itself, how you run your business, how your leadership treats your employees, the executives, the pay, no fraud, nothing immoral, let's say, happening, is of course, that governs the criteria of governance. If you look at Islamic finance, the characteristic of Islamic finance is very simple. It is an asset-backed, and this is the amazing thing about it. You cannot buy financial papers, and you cannot make business out of selling papers around. It has to have an asset or a service backed. This asset-backed actually contribute to the social part, because you do not have the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, if you actually always selling and buying products that actually physical or a service. What happened in 2008, 2009 in the financial crisis is they were selling financial assets, and then everybody who's buying the financial assets adding their markup on it and selling it again and selling it again. At one point, the financial market was 70 times the physical market that we live in, or the physical economy, which is crazy, because the financial system was supposed to be created to support the real economy, not to be 70 times the real economy, and becomes the financial economy is the actual economy, and the real economy is the supported. So it's very strange. So when you look at the asset back, it's very important in Islamic finance, and it's actually very important in characterizing Islamic finance as a social finance. Then you look at the ethical part of Islamic finance. Islamic finance is very ethical. And if it's ethical, you cannot really do anything wrong to the environment, to the social, to the people, or to the in the governance. So if you look at the ESG, all of them, the E and the S and G, actually are in the ethical part of Islamic finance. Then we have the risk sharing in Islamic finance. Another characteristic of an important characteristic of Islamic finance. And this is allow you to do business in a risk sharing and partnership, and you stay away from the riba, you stay away from basically overcharging people, and all the problems and the diseases that actually caused socially by the riba. And then we have the good governance, which is Islamic finance is built on good governance with the Sharia board and the Sharia board on the bank level, on the country level, etc. It's actually more governing the Islamic finance than any other finance. A lot of eyes are looking at these products and ensuring that they actually do good to the society. That's why good governance is built into Islamic finance. So these characteristics mean Islamic finance is well suited. alignment of the SDG. And basically, you cannot really, and that's why when they say Islamic finance and green finance and sustainable finance, and I think I had that discussion with Brother Hani. I told him, to me, Islamic finance is green finance, and it's a social finance. The issue here is we got to the point of imitating so many conventional products in Islamic finance that we lost the soul of Islamic finance, that now we have to differentiate and say, no, Islamic finance supports green finance. To me, Islamic finance is green finance if we knew the spirit of Islamic finance and actually executed on it. Of course, with the digital revolution and all the technologies that came, which is my specialty, I was a technologist, you actually have the ability to combine the digital finance, talking about the great technologies of the cloud, the mobile, the AI, the big data, the blockchain, Internet of Things, etc. And you can combine all those amazing technologies with Islamic finance and deliver it to achieve amazing things. And when we talk about the digital finance, and I mean, if you notice, we're talking about what sustainable finance is. We're talking about what Islamic finance is, which is definitely sustainable finance. Now we're talking about the digital revolution that allow us to take the sustainable and the Islamic finance to a completely different level by dematerialization, demonetization, and democratization of the financial services. And we talked in previous sessions a lot about how you democratize the service, how you demonetize, and how you dematerialize all these services that we have. And all this, of course, giving a tremendous empowerment to the individuals. So what are, I have a phrase I used in previous presentations. I call it sustainable Islamic digital finance, which is SIDF. And if you what I did is actually I took the sustainability of Islamic finance, and combine it with the digital and said, okay, what are the possibilities that SIDF can actually allow us to do? By combining them, we actually achieve an amazing world of potential. When we can do things and solve problems, the world can actually have the tools to solve very, very serious problems. And we can see it happening in a lot of Islamic countries. We can see it happening in, I think, Brother Mohammed Kateeb talked about, the different regions where Islamic finance and fintechs are happening. We have the Southeast Asia, driven by what's happening in Malaysia and Indonesia, the GCC, and what's happening in even the Europeans trying to jump on that bandwagon, and considering London is one of the hubs for Islamic finance, which is amazing. So one of the biggest possibilities is the financial inclusion. When you look at the Islamic world, we have about 85% of the Islamic world actually below poverty lines. And it's sad to say, but we have a very, very poor countries in the Islamic world. And those people are not included in the current financial world, and they're not included in the financial services, is not reaching them, etc. We have amazing tools in Islamic finance, like zakat, like waqf, like other things that actually can help those people, but there's always these doubts and the distrusts, and how is my money getting to the right people? Am I giving it in the right channels? And then you always label Islamic finance with the word terrorism support and etc. Now transferring money to certain countries is like a nightmare. It's very, very hard to transfer money to certain Islamic countries without getting asked a million questions. So the financial inclusion is possible if we deploy the technology that we're talking on, and we can actually bring it to these financial services. So we can actually override these challenges that we're having there. I think there are some geopolitical challenges will continue to exist, but our ability to use and deploy the technology in fintechs and other than fintechs will allow us to actually achieve larger financial inclusion and reach that huge poverty levels in all our Muslim country, and actually lift up the people out of that of these poverty levels. In general, there's a lot of possibilities. I can talk about them in a later session. I don't want to just continue, but it's very important to mention that there is SDGs put by the United Nations. I think there is 17 of them. And when I look at the 17 SDGs set by the United Nations, almost 10 of them or more are actually directly an impact. Islamic finance impact these SDG and address them directly. If you talk about the poverty, the zero hunger, the quality in education, the gender equality, et cetera, a lot of Islamic finance initiatives can actually address these. And then you have a few that if not directly impacted by the Islamic finance, there are indirectly actually are addressed by the Islamic finance. I don't want to hog the whole time, but this is really my thoughts on the subject, and I can talk more about it later.